Amityville, New York. November 13, 1974. A house on Ocean Avenue stood silent beneath a cold autumn sky. But inside, something unspeakable had just occurred. 6 members of the DeFeo family, father, mother, 2 daughters, and 2 sons, were found shot dead in their beds. The only surviving member, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr., would later confess to the killings, claiming he was driven by voices from the house itself. The town fell into silence, and whispers of darkness began to swirl around the property. What followed was a chilling tale of a new family, the Lutzes, moving into the home just 13 months later, only to flee 28 days later, terrified beyond belief. They claimed they had encountered forces that defied understanding, levitating beds, ooze from the walls, ghostly apparitions, and something evil. This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This is the beginning of only true horror. December 1975. Just over a year since the tragedy, a new family stepped across the threshold of 112 Ocean Avenue. George and Kathy Lutz believed they had found the perfect home for their young children. It was spacious, affordable, and eerily quiet. Too quiet. The furniture from the previous owners remained untouched. The house was offered at a bargain price, but came with a sinister history most would rather avoid. Still, the Lutzes were not superstitious. They were practical, logical, hopeful. As they moved in, the town whispered. Neighbors looked on with uneasy curiosity. And inside those walls, something ancient and malevolent stirred. A presence that had waited patiently since the night of the murders. The house did not greet them. It watched them. And what began as a dream, would quickly turn into a nightmare. This was no ordinary home. This was the Amityville house. Just days into their new life at Ocean Avenue, things began to change. At first, it was small, lights that flickered without reason, cold spots that clung to your bones, even when the heat was on. George Lutz, a rational man, dismissed it. But every morning, like clockwork, he'd wake at 3:15 a.m., the exact time the murders occurred. Missy, the youngest, began talking to someone named Jody. An imaginary friend, Kathy assumed, until Jody described things Missy had no way of knowing. A pig-faced creature with glowing red eyes, watching her from outside the second-story window. Strange smells, rooms filling with flies, doors that slammed shut on their own. The house was alive, and it was learning them, testing them. The Lutzes hadn't even unpacked fully, but something had already made itself at home. What began as whispers and shadows soon turned violent. The Amityville house no longer hid behind subtle tricks. Now, it screamed. Doors slammed open with no wind. Crosses turned upside down on their own. Walls bled a thick, green slime. Kathy began waking with deep, red welts across her chest, scratches that appeared in her sleep. George's health deteriorated rapidly. He stopped shaving, barely slept, obsessed over the fireplace, claiming he couldn't ever feel warm. The children screamed at night, claiming something was in their rooms, breathing. The air inside the house became unbearable, suffocating, like it wanted them out. But leaving wasn't easy. It was as if the house wouldn't let them go. Something had claimed them, and it wasn't done yet. Whatever haunted 112 Ocean Avenue, was no longer hiding. It wanted them afraid. And it was succeeding. By the end of December, the Lutz family was unraveling. The house had turned against them, turning dreams into nightmares and warmth into frost. George no longer recognized himself, paranoid, isolated, and obsessed. Kathy was plagued with night terrors, waking to phantom voices screaming her name. The children wouldn't sleep in their rooms. Missy spoke of Jody, who now appeared inside the house, telling her secrets in the dark. Doors ripped off hinges. Unseen footsteps echoed from the attic. The temperature would drop suddenly, breath visible in midair. The worst came one night when the walls trembled, and a chorus of inhuman growls filled the house. The Lutzes huddled in one room, praying, not for salvation, but for escape. They had lasted 28 days. On January 14, 1976, they left everything behind, clothes, food, belongings, and never returned. Whatever haunted 112 Ocean Avenue, kept the house. And left the world a legend. When the Lutz family fled the house in January 1976, they left more than just furniture behind, they left questions. Within days, reporters swarmed Ocean Avenue. Neighbors told of screams in the night, strange lights in the windows, and the overwhelming stench of death. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were among the first to enter. What they claimed to find inside would terrify even the most hardened skeptics: sudden temperature drops, a mysterious hidden room in the basement, and a photograph of a ghostly child staring into the camera. The story of the Amityville Horror exploded. Books, films, debate, doubt. Some said it was real. Others said it was a hoax. But the house, it still stands. And those who've entered say the silence inside is anything but empty. Because sometimes, when horror is true, it never really ends. Decades have passed, but the legend of the Amityville Horror still echoes in the quiet halls of 112 Ocean Avenue. The house was remodeled, renumbered, but its history was never erased. Some say it's just a house, brick and wood. Others believe it still holds something much darker. What's true, and what isn't? That's for you to decide, asterisk. If this story chilled you, there are more to come. Real stories. Real fear, asterisk. Subscribe to Only True Horror for cinematic true horror stories every week, real cases, reimagined with unsettling detail. Want to see the original source of this story? Check the description below for links to articles, records, and footage. And remember, some houses don't forget.